Welcome back to AI Learner Hub. Now that we know what AI is, let's travel back in time to understand where it came from. This is the history of artificial intelligence, from its conceptual birth to the revolution we see today. Our story begins in the 1950s. The seed was planted by the brilliant British mathematician Alan Turing. He introduced the Turing test, a test of a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior indistinguishable from that of a human. A few years later, in 1956, a group of researchers held a summer workshop at Dartmouth College. It was here that computer scientist John McCarthy officially coined the term artificial intelligence, and the field was born. The 1960s were a time of great optimism, often called the golden years of AI. Researchers were confident they were on the verge of creating true machine intelligence. We saw the creation of Eliza, an early chatbot that fascinated people by simulating a conversation. We met Shaky, the first robot that could perceive its environment and reason about its actions. And Lisp was developed, becoming the go-to programming language for AI for decades. But the early promises were too grand. By the mid-1970s, it became clear that creating intelligence was much harder than anticipated. Computers were simply not powerful enough for complex tasks, and the funding began to dry up as progress stalled. This period is famously known as the first AI winter, a time of reduced funding and interest in the field. AI was reborn in the 1980s with the rise of expert systems. Instead of trying to create general intelligence, the focus shifted to capturing the knowledge of human experts in a specific domain. Systems like MYCIN could diagnose diseases, and for the first time, companies saw a practical, profitable use for AI. This boom turned AI into a billion-dollar industry. However, this success didn't last. The expert systems were very brittle, they couldn't learn and were incredibly expensive to update with new information. By the late 80s, the market for these specialized machines collapsed, and the field entered its second AI winter, as funding and interest once again faded away. The 1990s and 2000s saw a quiet but profound shift. Researchers moved away from trying to program explicit rules and instead focused on allowing computers to learn from data. This is the approach we now call machine learning. The most famous event of this era was in 1997, when IBM's Deep Blue chess computer defeated the world champion, Garry Kasparov, signaling that a new, data-driven era of AI had arrived. Then, around 2012, everything changed. A perfect storm of three key factors launched the deep learning revolution we're in today. First, big data from the internet gave us enormous datasets for training. Second, powerful graphics processing units, or GPUs, originally made for video games, turned out to be perfect for running massive AI calculations. And third, new and improved algorithms made it possible to train much deeper, more complex neural networks than ever before. So, what can we learn from this turbulent history? First, that AI progress isn't a straight line. It's a series of cycles, with seasons of hype and winters of disillusionment. Second, major breakthroughs often depend on having enough computing power and data to bring ideas to life. And finally, everything we see today is built upon the foundational work, both successes and failures, of the researchers who came before. And that's our whirlwind tour of AI history. Understanding this past is key to understanding our present. In our next lesson, we will dive deep into the most important concepts of the modern era. The precise differences between AI, machine learning, and deep learning. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it.